Hey guys, Matt. This is my truck driver shirt. It looks like somebody tuning in is going to go. This truck driver is going to tell me about the nature of reality. Yeah, maybe. First, before I want to talk about the eclipse, and for all us reality junkies, it's we get away from it too often. I mean, it is the starting point, the middle point, and the ending point. It should be of everything we do or consider or ponder or investigate. We stray from the eclipse, and it's everything. We try to figure out the nature of reality over here, but forget about the eclipse. It's not the elephant in the room. It's like the elephant times a billion in the room. So before I do that, I just want to bitch at YouTube, Google. Can you believe? Just 2 minutes, I'll get right into it. But can you believe that those bastards? I was filming outside at my park, and I had the radio on, or my whatever was on, and it was the song was from a cool new band called new to me, called Yellow Days. Yellow Days, Days, a blonde-haired kid from the UK who was in Philly about a month ago. And I opened the door and I got in, and the song was playing in the car. And for 20 seconds, YouTube, Google picked up on that and smacked my video as a copy. I was using copyrighted material, and then put an ad on it. I mean, really? Now, the algorithm to me is so sophisticated. If it would have been me playing my ukulele, I don't think it would have. It knew what song it was. It knew. I mean, it knows. It knows when you've been sleeping. It knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. It's just scary. It's also sick. And just to get into a car where a radio's playing, they're going to slap an ad. Those greedy pigs. Oh, let's just end it with this. Not the video, just the segment. That, you know, people at Google, YouTube, and, the masters of this world, or even the minions that contribute to it, there are this life, this existence has consequences. Readily apparent to you and me, whether you're a Christian by traditional sense or not. The meaning of this life is to understand that this life has meaning, and there are consequences for fucking people over. Metaphysical consequences, probably that extend, most likely that extend far beyond this lifetime. So keep doing what you're doing to all of us. There'll never be a karma to pay, right? There'll never be any consequence. Well, yes, there will be. Yes, there will be. Monsters. These people are monsters. And most of the executives there, they're not in on it. They go home and with their Porsches in the driveway and their 3 beach homes, they sleep well at night, don't realize they're fucking over anybody. There will be consequences for those people as well. It's not some threat. I'm talking about metaphysical consequences associated with karma. Believe what you want. Okay, the eclipse. As reality junkies, we're always looking at this fake event, or what is this, or what is a politician? What is Donald Trump? Who does he report to? How much of a puppet is he? Who's the creature behind the curtain? All this stuff. We do too much of it while ignoring the eclipse. And a lot of you, or many of you, just don't understand what I'm saying. But the eclipse, we shouldn't do anything daily without considering the eclipse. Because I know most of you believe that, or see what I see and what others have talked about, that the chances of that happening the way they describe it, two celestial bodies moving exactly in front of each other to cast a shadow, that it's so remote, one in millions, and you know that, and you give it lip service, or we all give it lip service, but we truly don't understand the magnitude or the impossibility of what's happening. Okay, impossible what's happening. Practically impossible. Now, I don't mean that to most people they interpret that as almost impossible. No, like practicality. What is practical? And it is impossible. Okay, I'm gonna show that to you because it gets back to what's your threshold. And I know, again, everybody's going, well, yeah, I know the chances of the eclipses, but it's unless you've really thought it through and considered all aspects of what they say is happening, you might think the impossibility is this, and it's this like down to Florida. It's beyond an order of magnitude impossible. And once we stop giving lip service to the fact that yeah, what Carl Sagan is happening can't be happening, and we will parrot that in the truth community, but I'm not sure how many people truly believe that or buy that. And you need to buy that to then bring that something else is going on in the nature of reality itself, to bring that new set of glasses back to this world, back to the fake shooting that might happen tomorrow, in consideration of any of the shenanigans and nonsense that happens here. So again, I don't know, maybe for a fourth of you, you're going to know every bit of what I'm about to say, but I would still say for almost everybody in that fourth, three-fourths won't know everything of what I'm about to say, but even for that fourth, I would say almost all of you would never have truly comprehended the magnitude or the impossibility of what they say is happening with the eclipse. So I'm going to do this as quickly as possible. This could go 2 hours, but I have to do this quickly and move on and apply or try to apply whatever we learn about the eclipse to all the shenanigans that happen in our day-to-day reality breakdowns that happen here or happen in our backyard. So it's not just one body per your perception on Earth fitting exactly over another. The moon fits exactly over the sun. Like I've said before, 2 quarters milled back to back from the exact same machine. The chances of that, I put at 1 in billions if what Carl Sagan tells me about what that is real. It's a one body is just 400 million nuclear reactions per second, and gas explosions and hydrogen, helium, and the other body is just a rock orbiting the Earth. And Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin showed us that the surface of the Earth is, the surface of the moon is just like a cat litter box. Cats would love it. They'd scratch and they'd poop anywhere on the moon. It's 3 inches of beautiful cat litter, gray. That's what they like, and it's just that rock just happens to go in front of the sun because by coincidence, by incredible coincidence from our perspective of the third variable here on Earth in an equation that's already impossible, the sun is 400 times larger than the moon, and the moon just happens to be 400 times closer to the Earth. So by our perspective as the third variable here on Earth as observers, they appear to be the exact same size as 2 quarters milled on the same machine back to back. Matt, I'm detecting your sarcasm. Good, because I'm legging on pretty thick. It's from Tommy Boy. That by itself is absurd. It's impossible. But deliver all the other aspects into the equation that push 1 in billions into 1 in tens of billions or 1 in trillions. The ecliptic itself. Now, I'll describe it for a minute or two. Not everybody is up on what this is, but if you Google or YouTube search, go search with those monsters, the animation of the solar system, planets going around the sun, animation of the solar system. Planets, he said it, planets. I'm not getting into that debate here. That's obviously not the purpose here. I have to assume in using their own information against them, I have to assume the basis of their own construct. See why I can't stray? Anyway, the animation is here's the sun, and the ecliptic. I'll explain this in a moment. But all the planets go around the sun. I don't know if they go this way or that way. Who cares? They all go around in the same direction. Why would they all go in the same direction if we have this random entropy chaos universe where originally the Big Bang just blowed up, and everything blowed up into wouldn't things be shooting in different directions? So how are the planets going around in the same direction. It's like a bad country music dance. They're all dancing around the same direction, but it's not just that. They go around on a flat plane called the ecliptic. From our perspective, the ecliptic. From our perspective. But if you look at the animation on using one of the many animation or explanations on YouTube, Google as to how our universe really works, they all go around on the same flat plane. It's not like some are going and this one's Mercury's going and Jupiter's up here. No, it's all in the same. It's like kneading dough. It's all in the same plane and all in the same direction. Right. Sure. What did they call each other? Did they call each other? Did Mercury go, I'm going first, I'm the closest, I don't want to be the only one going around like this, on this level. Is anybody going to do what I'm going to do? I don't want to be the only one. And Mars and Jupiter are like, hey, little man, relax, we're going to do what you're going to do. You just go the way you want, we'll follow along on the same plane. You're not going to look like an asshole doing your own thing, we're going to follow along. Oh, goody, and we can dress like each other tomorrow. And I don't know if I've ever said this, it's the most craziest thing ever, but planets actually, if they called each other up to coordinate that amongst them, that's more believable than what Carl Sagan tells us and what these idiots like Stephen Hawking tell us about the nature of the universe. That's more believable that they called each other and planned it out. Okay, look, how would they go around in the same direction on the same level plane? Now, I'm sure you can go to the monsters at Google, YouTube, and find all the videos in the world, maybe from my ex-girlfriend, Vintage Space, and creatures like that'll explain it all to you with confidence as to how that's happening. And people will listen and say, well, they know more than me. They have more letters on their business card and more titles and more useless masters and PhD degrees. And I'm too stupid to question it. So I'm just it makes sense, and they're delivering it with confidence, so I better not question it. Well, that's what they do. They put big titles in their card. They deliver the bullshit with confidence, and they belittle you and make you seem like you're not smart enough to question any of this stuff for yourself. No, if things are if we're blowed up in the Big Bang, going all over the freaking place, and no, it doesn't make sense they'd all be going. And from our perspective, the ecliptic is like one line. Even the moon. Now, I haven't even got these are ones in billions of chances, in my opinion. I'm no statistician. I slept through my quantitative business analysis class at Penn State, but I'm in a very condescending mood today for a few reasons, so I hope that's okay with you. But even I know that it's one in billions that everything happens on this level plane. I haven't gotten even to the eclipse itself yet. Pull out your pocket calculator and take a 1 in a billion and then times it by another 1 in a billion. The probabilities, chance, flip a coin, 50-50, heads or tails. Flip it again. The math is very simple. 1/2 times 1/2. The chances of 2 heads in a row, 0.25. Well, do that 5 times with 1 in a billion, 1 in 10 billion, 1 in 20 billion, 1 in a billion. Well, it gets to be, there's more zeros than almost any supercomputer can handle. That's what the eclipse is, and we're supposed to believe it. We're supposed to believe it's exactly as they say it is. So then you have the variable of the moon itself. So we look in, everything's on this ecliptic going round and round on this flat plane in the same direction. They all called each other. And then we have the moon. Well, wasn't the moon, we were told, the confident stories they deliver on YouTube, Google, is that the moon, it was a giant body like Mars smashed into the Earth after the formation of the initial solar system. So this is maybe hundreds of millions of years later, and all these rock and crap broke up. Now, they give you these confident explanations, but when you look into it closely, there is no consensus on how the moon was formed. Even amongst these mainstream egghead assholes, there's no consensus. But I mean, if NASA will tell you how the moon formed, they're not going to tell you we're not quite sure. There's a note at the bottom saying, 4 out of 5 dentists disagree with Mars. They're not going to tell you a lot of people disagree. But trust me, there's no consensus. Nobody knows for sure how the moon was formed. There are theories, like Darwin's theory of evolution. Can't lose the word theory in that. It's so given of what happened. We came from monkeys that they can't detach from the word theory. So a giant body like Mars, hopefully with Matt Damon not on it, smashed into it's my computer. There we go. Smashed into the Earth, and all this rock and debris went all over the place. And if that was the case, well, we should have rings. We should have rings around. It would just, if gravity exists and the graviton exists the way they describe it, they use one body of measure, the graviton, which doesn't exist, to measure another phenomenon that they can't prove exists, gravity. Just because there's no proof anywhere in the world that gravity exists. Just because I can take a bowling ball and drop it on my foot, that doesn't mean gravity exists. It just means a bowling ball dropped when I let it go. That's all they have. These egghead assholes. They're so smart in their university lectures. So you have I was going to say the moon came after the formation of the solar system, smashed all these pieces all over the place. So why don't we just have rings? Well, somehow this moon coalesced into one thing. For all these little parts and pieces and little pieces of whatever, well, how did it come together? In other words, if there's a million pieces or a trillion pieces of whatever from the collision of this huge body into the Earth billions of years ago, where's the central point of gravity as they describe it? Where's the central gravitational force that pulls all the pieces together? And even if that's possible, why would all the pieces come together in a perfect circle or a perfect sphere? Like just massaging the perfect snowball with warm hands. Why would that happen? Why wouldn't it look more like they describe a meteorite or an asteroid or a comet, or like look more like a potato that's been given too much radioactivity, like a potato you planted outside a 3 Mile Island. The potato might have look like it has 3 heads or something, or all these different bulges all over. Why doesn't the moon look like that? How could everything come together so perfectly to form that perfect sphere? Well, Matt, it didn't come together. It came together odd shaped like that radioactive potato you described, and then over the millennia, was it formed somehow that the cosmic winds shaved it down? Is there a river up there, like a way a river rock gets nice and smooth and round? Is that what happened to the moon? If it's a vacuum and there's no forces, whatever came together would be all over the place, up and down, left and right. And if it came together as this perfect smooth, how does that even happen? How does any scientist even describe how it forms a perfect sphere? Where's the center point of gravity? Forget it. Okay, we'll leave that behind. It's nonsensical to me. I'm sure they'd find a way to argue with me about that. And obviously, I don't know everything. I'm just saying, well, even if I'm wrong about any of these, or what I'm calling a 1 in a billion chance is really not a billion a chance, once you add all of these up together per the law of probability, you still get a number that's way beyond anybody's threshold as to what they say is happening can't possibly be happening in all of this. So back to the ecliptic. Everything's moving around on the same level plane. That's why things are getting in front of each other and blocking the light of the sun. Well, why would the moon care about that same level plane? Well, it's almost on that same level plane. It's within 5 degrees. Really? So just this random event, hundreds of millions of years later, all this debris, and then it goes around the Earth. Please, let it go. It goes around the Earth on the same level plane, so everything's getting in the way of each other. No, if anything was real, the moon would have just formed and gone around like this, and there never would be an eclipse. Come on. It's a freaking joke, what they tell us. A joke about almost everything. So, of course, just at random, just add up your probabilities. You're another 1 in a billion. It just happens to be on that basically the same ecliptic. So if you get back, then you get into the chances that these bodies are the same size. And again, if it was a little bit off, nobody would be focusing on the eclipse, or I wouldn't be making this video. But the key that goes above everything is when one crosses over the other. I know there are partial eclipses, but when you have a total solar eclipse, one is exactly the same size as the other. Exactly blocking the other. If you take into all the variables as to what they say is going on, size of the Earth, size of the moon, size of the sun, distance, trajectory, whatever, telemetry, any variable you can think of, shape, motion, relative motion, if you take in all those variables, you get into 1 in tens of billions. Just the eclipse itself. That one body perfectly covers the other body up. Let's forget the ecliptic, that you can add in another 1 in billions. Forget that they all move around the same direction. That's another 1 in billions. Forget that how the moon was formed. That's another 1 in billions. So you're looking at minimum, in my opinion. Again, I slept through my QBA class. Sorry. Minimum, it's approaching 1 in a trillion. Now, I don't know what your threshold is, but I'm sorry. I don't believe in 1 in a trillion. I don't really. I'll look for another explanation. Thank you very much. You know, as I've said many times, if I get off the subway in New York and Brooklyn and come out, and there's some guy flipping, he's flipped 20 heads in a row. Whoop, heads again. Anybody want to bet me I can't do it again 20 more times? Nobody's going to take the bet because it's beyond your threshold. He's a shyster. He's a charlatan. He's a flim-flam man. But the biggest flim-flam man of all time, the biggest fraud and charlatan and crook and liar of all time, your news anchor, he's probably thinking about his next sex act between each part of the teleprompter he actually reads. He probably can't get, tonight I can get another sex act. That's probably all he cares about, guys like David Muir. They're the biggest crooks in the world. And so I'm going to believe when he tells me about I'm supposed to believe in a 1 in trillion coincidence. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm confident enough in my own cognitive abilities to look for truth somewhere else. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, David Muir. But I'll pass. I'll pass Carl Sagan on what you're telling me there. Sorry. I wouldn't take the bet with a guy flipping 20 heads in a row, or even 10. But I'm supposed to take your bet. That's 1 in a trillion. All these bodies are moving around exactly in an impossible fashion. And it gets back to my favorite, when I say it's impossible, let me give you one example where you might, there's still a small segment of people, yelling at me in this video saying, over time, Matt, if you give it enough time and enough situations, anything is possible. And they'll cite that ridiculous example where if a monkey could talk, and he could just spout out words at random, just like he doesn't know what he's saying, like banana, zookeeper, television set, scratch my ass, just any words. Eventually, over enough time, over maybe hundreds of billions of years, but over enough time, that monkey would eventually recite Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, perfectly, if enough time went by. And we sit in our statistics class and we go, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, if enough time, anything's going to happen like that. The monkey's going to say, he's going to say, 2 households, both alike in dignity and fair Verona, where we lay our scene from ancient grudge, break to new mutiny, blah, blah, blah. He's going to spout that off. The monkey's going to do it. And I'm saying to the QBA professors and the statistical professors, I'm saying, no, that's impossible. I don't care what your little theories say about how much time goes by. The reason it's impossible is because each attempt stands on its own. Okay? The monkey's each attempt stands on its own. And the monkey cannot learn from prior attempts. So it doesn't matter how much time goes by. This is practically impossible per the real definition of practicality. Not practically impossible meaning almost. No. It's never going to happen. You could watch the monkey for 40 million years, and the best he's going to do is like 2 households, both alike in dignity and fair banana, where we lay our scene. That's the best he's going to do. And the reason he's never going to do better than that is because he can't learn. No one's saying you got the first part right, but when you put in banana, then you got it wrong. Oh, okay, then 2 households both alike in dignity in motor oil, where we lay our. He can learn. If he can learn, okay, all bets are off. He will eventually get it. Obviously, the statistical theories of the eggheads applies there. He will eventually learn, but not if each attempt stands on its own. At the end of whatever let's say Romeo and Juliet is 40,000 words. I have no idea. At the end of the monkey spouting 40,000 words at random, He will push a button. He's learned he gets food if he pushes the button, and the button, like those X's in Family Feud, tell you if he got it right or got it wrong. He says banana, motor oil, blah blah blah, and he pushes at the end. After doing this for 3 hours, he gets to push the button to get the little piece of hot dog that he likes to eat. He pushes the button, it goes, I got it wrong. Now, if the monkey was smart enough, he could say, well, what part did I get wrong? Can't tell you. Got to start over at random. See, that's why he'd never get it. I don't care how many trillions of years goes by. He'd never get it. So just like, who's the hottest girl today that's 20-something years old? I don't even know. I don't follow it. To me, back in the day, it was like Cindy Crawford, my age, and Heidi Klum back in the day. I don't even know. But Matt, in his late 40s, it doesn't matter how many times I approach that girl at a bar. Okay, I'm not gonna score. I'm not gonna be able to take her back to my my Holiday Inn hotel room. It's each attempt stands on its own. Somebody's, well, Matt, if you theoretically, if you had unlimited attempts for an unlimited number of years, eventually you'd score. No, I wouldn't. Well, after a few million years, maybe, but you get the point. You get the point. Each attempt stands on its own, and now think of the solar system. It's even worse in the eggheads defending their theories versus people, conspiracy theorists, and all that means is people that actually decided to think for themselves. It gets worse for the eggheads because it's not like the universe had 400 million chances to get it right, where, we finally got it right. One body fits exactly over, and we didn't get it right. It happened the first time. It'd be like the monkey. The first time you say, okay, monkey, this monkey can talk. He can just spout out random words. Vocabulary, he's got the whole Webster's Dictionary's vocabulary. He doesn't know what he's saying, but he spouts out words. It would be like the first time the monkey saying, two households both alike in dignity and fair Verona. Getting it right the first time. Yeah, okay. Now, obviously, most of you know most of this. But the point is, the sheer magnitude of the impossibility, which is our heavens / ... the eclipse, is magnitudes and magnitudes and magnitudes of zeros more impossible than you can possibly imagine. Therefore, it's nothing, in my opinion, it's not planetary bodies, it's nothing going on like they say. Therefore, everything is on the table other than what David Muir tells me or what Anderson Cooper tells me. Everything is on the table other than that. Now that is at least something. We can cross off, what's in the textbook and go from there. But this does lead to an infinite number of paths. But the people that I get most upset about in the truth community here, that after all I just presented, they're gonna mock people like me who keep on the table that we live in a hologram, matrix, simulation, holodeck, illusion, reality overlay, something that's completely not real at all. Rock isn't heavy. There's a sliding scale of what is real. Here, things are physical. Rock is heavy. What I'm seeing, I'm really seeing. What I'm hearing, I'm really hearing. It's real perception. It's not a faux perception of the senses. And then over here, you have this literally like the Matrix. We're in a pod, and everything's a projection. Cypher's trying to get back in, and there's the sliding scale. So I'm on this side. I don't know what's happening. I'm not saying this is exactly the Matrix, but I'm on this side. Things aren't quite real. But there's people up here, even in this truth community, that almost mock and laugh at that type of conclusion, that you must leave that theory on the table, which is the height of ignorance, is beyond ignorant. You might say I don't agree. But I understand why that must be on the table. Though they don't even keep it on the table, and they almost mock and laugh. That is really, really pathetic for people doing that in this community. No matter what you think, God would never do it, or it doesn't. By the way, even if you're a hardcore simulation theory, it's nothing to. You could be the most hardcore evangelical Christian in the world. Who's to say God didn't create it that way? Does it say in the Bible a rock must be real, physical, and hard? No, maybe still God could have created it that way, a fluid reality, some sort of a holographic reality for souls to have an experience on, and then whatever you consider the devil or Satan hijacked it. It's not much different than you can. It's not like you're jumping off the Christian bandwagon by thinking that. I don't see one is not mutually exclusive to the other. If I'm saying that right. Anyway, so you kind of got to get your head around as to what's going on with all that stuff to come back down to earth here and say, well, what's this fake shooting all about? Or who did George Bush really report to? And all you can't have these little myopic trying to figure out reality down here without bringing in the big guy. You know, the big huge event that happens is going to, oh, we had one 7 years ago, it's going to happen again in 7 years. You know what, come on. Chances of that, just add another billion to your probability calculation. So you gotta, and you gotta get your head around that first, okay, and then bring those what you believe there down into the weeds of what we look at day to day here and all the shenanigans on the world news. Gosh, there was a few other things I wanted to say. I don't know. It's hard to talk that long. It really is. And I'm sure I had a few things I'll carry forth going forward, but it's just too big of an event, and people in the weeds down here trying to figure out reality they'll forget about it, almost entirely forget about it, and it has to be the elephant in the room of any sort of discussion we have as to the nature of reality, because it either reveals a ton or at least creates a situation where you can cross off a lot of stuff. Okay, you know, Carl Sagan telling me what's going on there. No, I'm crossing all that off. I'm sorry. What's your threshold? To me, once you get into one in billions, I'm sorry. I'm going to look for my answer somewhere else. Thanks for watching.